Welcome to the Limitless Leaders podcast. This is a show where my guests and I explore and expand on all things mindset, leadership, and communication. On the show, I interview inspiring leaders, business owners, and entrepreneurs from all walks of life, where they share their stories, experiences, and lessons. This is a podcast for you if you're looking to learn, grow, and accelerate your life, career, and who you are. Hi, and welcome to the Limitless Leaders podcast, where I interview amazing people from all over the world, from thought leaders and authors to CEOs and business owners. Wherever you're tuning in from or watching from today, I'm super excited to introduce you to our guest, Joe Pane. Joe and I met, 2006, and we've crossed paths and been in and out. So it's super special to have you here today, Joe.
Thanks, Renee. I really appreciate your time and thank you for having me.
Pleasure. So Joe specializes in the emotional fitness group trainings and keynotes. The emotional fitness formula, known as EFF, describes in detail in his new book, which we will talk about a little bit later, how to have the courage to be you, your guide to mastering uncertainty. So the EFF is a collection of thought systems and patterns designed to transform your relationship or our relationship with uncertainty. And it has 5 core principles, and I've read the book and I can't wait to unwrap all the magic in here, Joe. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Renee. Thanks for your kind words.
Oh, absolute pleasure. I know how much goes into writing a book, and it's a big achievement, and it's a beautiful book, and it's a book I've got notes in, and it's one of those books I think that's you want it dog-eared and you want it written in, and you want it to be a reference, like a good resource. Joe, I'd love to ask you, I always ask this question, how have you become who you are today, and I guess who you're continually becoming?
Yeah, it's a big question. Well, I guess just day by day. I remember back in the early 2000s when, I sort of hit that proverbial fork in the road and was becoming disengaged with everything around me in terms of life and in terms of my job back then and my direction and all that kind of stuff. You start questioning everything, which is the essence of what, one of the core parts of how the content of the book was created. Just not even knowing at the time that it took, a certain level of courage, I guess, to press the pause button on life and do something different. So I took a sabbatical that I didn't even know was a sabbatical. I hadn't even heard of sabbaticals. I took about 12 to 15 months off and traversed the whole sort of landscape of meditation and spiritual growth and understanding. Not even understanding, but just becoming aware that there's so much more to this existence other than the everyday 5 sensory experience of life. And so I guess that contributed massively to who I am today in terms of just the way I see the world and my philosophy of living, and having the privilege and the honor and the luck, of having to be in the position of having trained, thousands of people and lots of coaches, and that's of course how I met you, Renee. Every single person, has contributed to who I've become today. And it's just a sheer blessing. I mean, there's rarely a day that goes by where I'm not thinking to myself, gee, it's just an absolute privilege to be living the life that I'm currently experiencing.
Yeah, and it's amazing, and it is a blessing. And you know what I love about what you said there? You didn't use the word luck. I'm not a huge believer in luck. I think we create what we have and do the hard work and know when to realign and when to shift. I'm a big believer that our lessons teach us the most. And I mean, that's what the gift mindset's about. What is the gift in that success or that challenge? What's the lesson that I can use again to progress forward or share with others? What would be some of the biggest lessons you've learnt over the years, life lessons, I guess, that have really, I guess, helped guide you?
Well, something I value highly is consistency. So, um, you know, this is my 19th year in coaching and training full time, and I'm aware of how, there's a very small percentage of people that started with me back 19 years ago in the coaching space who are still in the coaching space. In fact, I know lots of, we spoke briefly about this offline before, you know, I know lots of coaches and trainers who can't sustain a business for whatever the reason might be. And I think one of the lessons that I've learned in being in my own business for the last, couple of decades almost, is really just the consistency of showing up, the consistency. If I'm going to be, I don't actively network anymore, but when I was doing a lot of that, it was done consistently. Yeah, and that's something that I think is really important, because I found that consistency is a core ingredient, a key component of trust. And
Yeah.
if people can't trust you, then you've got nothing really. So that's one life lesson. The other life lesson is there's lots of lessons, but I'll share one more, and that is that I did a video to my clients and a whole group of people yesterday on the power of impermanence, and just understanding that no matter what you're going through, and as you know, Renee, I mean, obviously you're going through a challenging time in your life, a challenging season in your life, and we all have our own challenges in our own lives, in different flavors, and just understanding that every season is followed by a different season, and everything passes. And so sometimes, when we're having a tough time, one of the lessons I've learned is just to simply hold on. The temptation is to quit, close the doors, fold everything up, and go and hide in a corner somewhere, physically, metaphorically, energetically, emotionally, or you just hold on,
Yeah.
and you'll see it through. And how you see it through, you don't know, but you will somehow. You'll work it out,
Yep. And you do.
and opportunities start to come again. I mean, um, even now, after all these years, I mean, you have the odd day here or there where you have a bit of a down day, but I know that that's just part of the journey. You just embrace that with
Oh,
all the highs.
yeah, I love that. And the impermanence. I do a lot of work on that too. I believe things come to us for a reason or a lesson. And I think we've got to not go around it and move through it. All those things keep coming at us because we haven't learnt that lesson. Um, but yeah, I love that, Joe. And I love some of the quotes that you said you really like. What defines us owns us.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that. I love that.
Yeah. So one of the key components of the emotional fitness formula, one of the most powerful parts is how identity actually relates to how uncertainty can impact on us. So, emotional fitness, as you mentioned earlier, I've defined it as measured by the quality of our relationship with uncertainty. I think our relationship with uncertainty is psychologically speaking, the most important relationship of all, because it contributes so massively to how well or not well we grow. And what defines us, owns us, is really, well, fundamentally, that's what identity is. Identity is what we allow ourselves to be defined by. So whatever I choose or not choose, depending on how aware I am, what
Yeah.
is defining me, I am going to become hypersensitized to. So, in other words, what I mean by that is if I'm defined by the results I'm getting in my business, if that's my identity, then the problem I'm going to have with that is that when the wins and the losses come, because they're inevitable, is I'm
Yeah.
going to take the wins and the losses, especially the losses, profoundly personally, because I'm defined by the results I'm getting in my business. So in
Yeah.
other words, then the results are actually owning my psychological landscape. They're owning my emotional landscape. And this is how powerful identity actually is. So what defines us, owns us is something I just wrote when I was writing my book, that I thought was a very succinct way of summarizing the whole chunk on identity. And the the mission really from a psychological standpoint is to move away from being defined by our roles and defining ourselves more by our character and who we're becoming. And when you focus on that, then no longer do your results or any other external sources own your psychological landscape anymore. You're now
It sounds
more within
simple,
yourself.
but sounds simple, doesn't it? But it's a journey. I mean, I'm going through that at the moment. I'm almost having a death of my old identity, so
I'm
to
sure you
speak.
are.
Like
Yeah.
physically, no hair, that hair's hair. But I love how you talk about times as seasons. That's something I've really that's helped me lately is I've lost my hair in winter and it's going to go back in spring. Literally,
Yeah.
first day of spring is when that cycle of chemo will finish.
How
So I'm
amazing.
actually feeling in sync with the seasons and knowing that my identity and what shapes it is much bigger than my identity.
Yeah.
That's,
Absolutely. 100%.
yeah, I
Mm.
love that. And the other one I really love is the outer conditions of our life are an echo of who we have been.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, I love that because that often people get confused with what they're facing in their lives. And as I say in that quote, everything is an echo of what we've been.
yeah,
And if you want to change how you are experiencing your everydayness, become aware of how you're acting and how you're being and the choices that you're making and the actions that you're taking or not taking
yeah,
today, because you're actually creating an echo in the immediate future with who you're becoming today. And I often I think every day you need to make a conscious investment into your future. Now, what I mean by that is, you know, treating a stranger with kindness, which becomes your default, which becomes your natural way of being.
yeah.
Reaching out to someone, just sending a meaningful message, meaningful meaning, meaningful to them, a meaningful message to somebody else, a message of support or a message of
Oh,
giggle or whatever it might be.
yeah,
Because what you're doing is you're investing in, I don't want to sound platitudinal here, but it's almost like you're investing in your karma, where you're investing in, well, this is what I am, this is what I want to be, and this is the echo I'm producing in my immediate future.
yeah,
Unfortunately, for most people, they're experiencing echoes that they're not enjoying because of what they've been in the past. And I
mm,
think that one of the purposes of Courage to Be of the book is to expand one's awareness into the power of all the subtle things that we're experiencing today, how much those subtle things are actually contributing massively to what we're going to experience in our next phase of life.
yeah. And it is, and it has a bit of a lag and then a flow-on effect. I
Yes,
love that, and I suppose the power there is knowing that you can change the future echoes by changing what you're doing now.
exactly right.
At the
Exactly
end
right.
of the day. Joe, we both do a lot in the leadership space. Leadership, it's a bit of but when people always say, "What do you do, Renee?" I'm like, I do all the things that enable leadership, really. And we both
Mm.
do communication, EQ, emotional fitness. What does leadership mean to you in this new world of work? Because the world has changed.
Yeah, and the world will always continue to change. But it's to me, leadership in essence, really, I can't think of anything more important than this, and it's really simple, and that is to make people better people. That's it.
Yeah, yep,
You
love
know,
it.
I was running a corporate retreat just a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying and that was with all the senior leaders of this particular organization, and I said to them, that's the essence of it. And if that
Mm,
doesn't resonate with you, then I'd question your intention behind your role,
yeah, yeah,
because if that's your intention, then what you're doing is, if your intention is to make people better people, every sort of aspect of your vibe, every aspect of your attitude, every aspect of the energy that you bring into a room demonstrates care. And
yeah,
also that comes through in your tone. It comes through in focus points of your conversations and meetings. Obviously, there are metrics that need to be met and all the fundamental basic responsibilities of everydayness. But when you come from a place of making people better people, then you're really answering a question that sits within everyone. And that is, does this person care about me, not as an employee, but does this person actually care about me as a person?
So it's just so important.
It is.
I always say people before process, before progress. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, we go into big companies and there's a lot of the process, systems, structure, strategies focused on, but not the people and the skill of making them better people and working with them. And it's like you and I, the work, it's such a privilege to do the work we do. I think anyone listening or watching this, we know the old saying, leadership is a choice. I walk into some companies and I can pick leaders out that actually don't have a team yet, that show stronger care and leadership qualities than some of the leaders that are already in those positions.
Yes.
And it's one of my favorite words and something I do a lot of work on, energy. And, and you said something earlier on, it's about showing up. Tell me a bit more in relation, to mastering uncertainty. How important is energy?
Well, energy is really important because there's so many different contexts to this. It depends on the context. So if we're looking at it from a leadership perspective, I mean, the other aspect to that is that the most attractive quality of any person that is followed, if that makes sense, is certainty. And so there's an energy that comes with certainty. There's an energy that is very directional. It's an energy that is very caring and warm and yet strong. Energy is a very close neighbor to attitude. It's, they're both pretty much in essence in the same backyard. And we've got to be aware that, whether we're talking about leadership in business or whether we're talking about leadership as a parent or leadership in whatever capacity, when things go wrong, if my son, especially when my sons are around, I've got 16-year-old twin boys at the time of this recording. They just turned 16 that last week. I'm aware of how I'm reacting to something that is annoying, because in those moments when they're in my orbit, how I react to those challenges is the most powerful energy that impacts them and teaching them how to respond to drama or situations. And so I think awareness is a massive key in all of this. I mean, as I shared with you all those years ago, Renee, I don't know if you recall this, but when I met you in the training, I shared with the room back then, even I've been saying this for years, is that 95% of the journey is awareness. So having an awareness of how you react to something, you're being observed, and when you're being observed, it's in those moments that you're teaching and impacting the most. And even when I'm by myself, like at the moment with you, I'm in my home here by myself. If something goes wrong or whatever's happening, or challenge or whatever, I still do the very best I can anyway to react and respond to that. As if my sons are in the room, because it's like, you're saying to the universe, well, this is what I'm choosing to become. If I'm going to choose to become an amplified drama queen, well, it's an echo I'm adding to my future timeline. So
I love that. It goes back to, be consistent, even when no one's watching. It comes back to that. Let's talk about your book, Courage to Be You, Your Guide to Mastering Uncertainty. What inspired you to write the book, Joe?
Well, I think there's a lot of power in the words "courage to be you." I was ironing a shirt in a Sydney hotel room many years ago, and the words "courage to be you" came to me, and I was like, that just makes sense to me. And I think the ultimate purpose in life is to, be you, to be yourself, which can be quite hard at times. I mean, a lot of people found that very difficult in the years of 2020 and 2021 with all the stuff going on. At times, it was hard to be yourself, depending on the scenario and the context as well. there was that element there, and I think that when I press the pause button in life, even though life doesn't have a pause button as such, but back in 2004, when I did press pause on my career to take that time off, and I had no idea where I was going, what I was doing, and which led me to starting my own coaching business. I think that takes courage, and I think the courage, even the word courage, the first four letters are from the French Latin, sort of, that means heart. So looking within and having the courage to follow what your guidance is. And I think in the emotional fitness formula, I speak about the emotional compass, which is our values. Our emotional compass is designed to guide us. And sometimes it can be obvious and sometimes it can be very subtle. So what inspired me to write the book was, there's nothing more important than the continual expansion of your comfort zone. I think that is the most significant thing. And our relationship with uncertainty is another massive contributor to that inspiration, because if we think about it, most people correlate uncertainty with fear.
That's right.
If we understand life and nature and how everything works, uncertainty is actually the prerequisite, the precursor, the precursory seed to one of the most fundamental perpetual needs of the human condition, which is growth. I mean, everything's either growing or dying, shrinking or expanding, breathing out or breathing in. Everything is moving all the time. Nothing stays still. So growth is a very, very, very fundamental part of nature. And nature shows us that, therefore, uncertainty, obstacles, challenges are a fabric of life. It's actually a requirement of living. And if we fail to embrace that, unfortunately, we're going to be turning up the pain and the difficulties even more. So the inspiration behind the book was to write something that is sequential, it's got frameworks, it's got some kind of logic.
I love that.
It can help someone understand how they can actually genuinely transform their relationship with uncertainty.
I love it. And look, we know certainty is a core human need. Most people don't like it because they like to know what's going on. It's a big word in my life, and I'm a very overly curious being. How does curiosity come into play with growth and uncertainty?
Well, it's huge. I mean, the term that I recently, I don't know if I read this somewhere, I don't know where it came from, but
like that.
I love, divine curiosity. I think everything is a divine curiosity. I think curiosity is king, because curiosity is what keeps us young at heart. Curiosity is what keeps us present in the moment. I mean, just before, I'm pointing over to where the kitchen is, just before I just had the gas on, turning on the coffee or whatever, the coffee pot I was putting on or whatever it was. And just standing there looking at the stove with the gas coming out of the element, just out of the curiosity of observing the experience of myself watching the gas coming out of the element of the thing. I mean, just something so simple as that is divine curiosity.
It is. It's childlike wonder.
It is. And if you can stay within that for as long as you can daily, it really massively improves your experience of life. Because as we know, that's all this is. It's just an experience of something quite unique. And having that divine curiosity essence keeps us in that wonder of the beauty of everything. And I think you can do that from looking at a tissue box or a gas element all the way through to looking at beautiful nature or anything else that you're observing. So, yeah,
definitely. I love that. And it slows us down a bit too. And I think we need that, and making the space for that. I think too often, I always say, we get caught up in the doing and not the being, and we have what I call state curiosity, where we wonder how something's done and then we forget about it.
Yeah.
And I get clients to keep progress and curiosity journals about things to tap back into.
And just before you ask the next question there, Renee, just to add to that, because the other key component here is having a strategy, or having, no, it's not a strategy, to having again, I'll go back to the word awareness, having an awareness of reminding ourselves that how we can prevent ourselves from getting caught up in the dramas of life. So in other words, how do I put this? It's like, so you may not know this, but only about 2 weeks ago, my dad passed away,
Oh,
and
I didn't.
it was
I'm
kind of
sorry to
expected,
hear
but
that.
still a shock. Sorry?
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't know.
No, that's okay. No, I appreciate that. No, and it's okay. The only reason why I'm bringing that up is because it's really pertinent to what we're talking about. Is that, my dad passing is like a visceral
Yeah,
reminder of how impermanent everything is. And so we're all going that way. And to me, it's like, circling back to divine curiosity, it's like, so you've got some issues, you've got some problems, you've got some challenges, you've got some joys, you got this, you got that. It's like, why are you getting caught up in all this drama? Like, we're all going to die anyway. Like, it's the cosmic joke of, like, I had this conversation. I don't meditate much, but I did a little 20-minute meditation the other day, and this is going to sound strange to some of your listeners, and for some of your listeners, it won't sound strange.
no, no.
But what I mean by that is that I was having a conversation with my dad. I wasn't overly sort of close to my dad, but we had this wonderful conversation. My best mate's his father passed away 20 years ago, and he said he has more free
Yeah,
flowing, open conversations with his dad these days than what he ever did when he was alive physically.
get that.
And it's
Yeah.
the same experience here. So I was having this conversation with my dad in a meditation of the day, and I said, I'm curious to know, like, where are you? What's it like? What are you experiencing? And all I got back was, I got back a lot. I got back a big laugh. And the laugh was, I'm not anywhere. I've never left here. That's the whole joke, is that you think that what you're experiencing there is real. It's just simply a dream that you wake up from, and you're back to where you've always been. And
Wow.
don't
Wow.
get
I got
caught,
goosebumps in.
yeah, don't
Yeah,
get caught up in anything, because
in the
it's the
drama.
cosmic joke. The
Yeah.
joke is on you. It's like, just let it go.
Yeah.
And that to me was a really strong reminder. And that's what divine curiosity is remembering the cosmic joke, remembering that once you get caught up in anything, it's because your ego
Yeah.
has sucked you in again. And there
Yep.
you are. So and it happens every day. But that's what makes life so real. That's what makes the
Yeah.
game, right? Because if you could see through everything so easily and quickly,
Mm.
then life wouldn't have its reality and its impact. So, but that was a wonderful conversation I had with him.
That's amazing. I love that. I lost my dad 26 years ago. He was younger than I am now, and
Wow.
I had a good relationship with him, but then I look back, I was, late teens, so, as good as you can get at that time. But I'm a bit the same. I hear him and I feel him, and sometimes I don't. And I love that. Just lose the drama, be in what is. And I'm a big, big advocate for being really heightening self-awareness. I mean, awareness is the key. Joe, there's a lot of people out there, and a lot I know in our coaching programs, and people you'd meet that have an amazing presence, come across as really confident, but they're lacking confidence and courage. What would you say to them at right now? And I know it's all in your book, but to have the courage to be your true self from
Mm.
every dimension, spiritually, emotionally, socially, mentally, what would be just something they could think about or do listening to this podcast?
Become loyal. Become loyal to what's in your soul. Become loyal to what's within. Become loyal to the conversation you're having with that person.
Yep.
Never become aware around that loyalty of, is what I'm about to say in this conversation with this person, is it to prove or to defend anything? Am I adding to this person right now in this conversation, or am I taking away? Am
Yeah.
I a sucker of significance, a getter, or am I giving of significance? And so being loyal to what's in your heart, blended with having an awareness of what you're bringing into a conversation, that's what boosts the inner confidence. Because
Yeah.
often what happens is, like you were just saying, if everything looks mighty fine from the outside and they're lacking real confidence on the inside, it's because often they've betrayed what's inside themselves, and they're holding conversations with people that they feel that they should be having. You
Yeah.
know, I'm part of a very rich running community here in Noosa. Like there's so many people here that are into the running and all that, and running's
Yeah.
been part of my life, as you know, for a long time.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm really blown away by the closeness of many people that I have in my running group, because it takes courage to express a truth. Now, I've got to be careful how I say this, because a lot of people, as you can imagine, of course, with the whole COVID 2 years scenario, there were a lot of contentious subject matters that came up in that time. So when I say speak your truth, I'll tell you what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that in your conversations with people, to remain loyal to what's in your heart, that you start speaking up on your opinions and views on politics, on health, on government, on vaccination, on da 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 da. That's not what I'm talking about, because these are contentious issues that will automatically, naturally, and utterly divide you with others. That's just how it is. I'm talking about where someone shares something that's important to them, and you can see that particular subject is important to them. You know, whatever it might be, the relationship with their mother. Say, I'm just making it up. And so in that moment, you know, bring the divine curiosity, be loyal to that moment, and ask something from your soul about their relationship with their mother and what it means. I'll give
Yeah.
you a real life example. There's a lovely lady who I'm one of the runners in our group, where she asked me whether I would consider running a marathon with her, because this lady's 42. She ran a marathon when she was in her early 30s, her first and only marathon, and she suffered a very significant stroke from that marathon, and it took her 2 years to be able to type again, write again, walk again. One heck of a journey, and now she's all 100% physically, and it's taken a lot of guts for her to build up to another marathon, because she wants to do one. And she asked me, you know, because she knows I've done marathons, would you do one? Would you train with me? Would you train me and all this? And eventually I said yes, because I didn't want to do another bloody marathon, because I know what it takes. And yeah, so I'm doing another one, and you know, I met her father, I met her dad, and in one of the runs, who's in his 70s, and she was just talking about her dad in a very soft, loving, nurturing way. And I said, "Wow, you really light up when you talk about your dad." Now, that moment where I said you really light up about how you talk to your dad, that's a real conversation. That's a
Yeah, that's
conversation
right.
expressing love. If I start talking to her about what I think is going on in politics and the government and get all
Oh,
charged up, well, that's not giving.
no.
That's me coming from ego, with sort of whatever my egotistical stand is
Yeah.
on something I don't really understand,
Yeah. Yeah.
versus an expression of love, Renee, which is in that moment. And
They're
that's,
heart conversations, I call them. Heart
yeah,
conversations. Yeah.
have conversation. If you're surrounded by conversations like that on a
Mm,
daily basis, how can your confidence not grow? Because
yeah.
then what happens is your outer world and your inner world start to close, and the gap gets reduced to nothing. And when you can be you, courage to be you, when you can be you in almost any circumstances, if not all, uh, that is a beautiful thing. Because
Yeah.
then now your energy, going back to that word energy, your energy goes up, because you're not having to put energy into something that you're not. You're not having to put energy into something that you're proving or defending or hiding behind.
Yeah.
You're just being yourself.
Yeah.
And that's maturity.
Yeah, it is. It does. It's a bit like EQ. You know, it's shown now. You can build it even more as you go through more. And, you know, every lesson's character building, right? Whether it's a success or not, it's still character building. But I love that. And I always say, Joe, I have my mantra in life is do what lights you up, has been,
Yeah.
I've had my business 18 years, so around the same time. Who and what lights you up, know what that is, and talk about the things that light you up, and have what you were just saying, like these beautiful heart conversations, not topical, but
Yeah.
actually essence
The
conversation.
essence, life essence conversations. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely love that. And we could talk all day. I've just got two more questions for you. Who's a leader that you admire and why? Who's someone you admire?
Yeah, well, someone who I've been observing now for the last 2.5 years is the football coach of the team that I follow in the AFL, which is Collingwood. I never thought
Right,
I'd
you
do
can
this.
stay
I
on the
never thought.
podcast.
What's that, Renee?
You can stay on the podcast.
Yes, I was going to say,
My brother's
I never thought I'd be bringing up Collingwood in a Renee Giarrusso podcast. But putting our opinions aside about Collingwood, the reason why they won the premiership so quickly with this new coach is because this particular guy is a wonderful, Craig McRae's his name. He's a wonderful walking, talking example of someone genuine.
Yeah.
Someone, reverting back to the conversation we just had about love, is that even the way he talks to the media, it's real. Like the man is real everywhere that he goes. And he has genuine care for his players that aren't just the players that take the field every week, which is a team of about 22 people. It's the entire list of 46 players plus the coaching staff, assistants, etc. It's a genuine thing. I've noticed in previous leadership groups with this particular sporting club is that previous leaders have attempted to do this, but it hasn't come from their heart. It's come as a strategy.
Yeah, and they've been told to do it this way. Yeah.
Yeah, love is not a strategy. Sure, the NLP people will say that it's a strategy. It's not a strategy. It's who you are. It's the essence of being. So, I've admired him for the last 2.5 years because I've also noticed the consistency. I've noticed how he embraces uncertainty when things, the footy world is like a microcosm. It's like a micro amplified version of life,
Yes.
where things get thrown at you where you need to handle, and then you need to remember it's just a game.
Yeah.
Footy is just a game. Guess what? Life is just a game.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's the same thing. So it's the same but different, but you know what I mean. He's someone who I've been observing and admiring from afar because I watch all of his press conferences. I love his languaging. I love his messaging. It's very consistent. I think he's a man who I, respect quite deeply.
I love that. And as you know, anyone you admire, usually you have those qualities within you as well, which knowing you and of you and what you do wouldn't surprise me at all. I talk
Thanks,
about
Renee.
being a limitless leader, which is about a leader that learns, relearns, evolves continually, and taps into energy and all the things we've talked about. What keeps your energy up, Joe? Because I know you've relocated to a beautiful part of the world. I will not be jealous. What keeps you energized? Like overall.
What keeps me a lot of things keep me energized. One of the things keep me energized is always having something to look forward to. Now, this goes against power of now and all that sort of stuff, but let me explain what I mean. So every day I have something to look forward to, and running is a massive component of that. A massive component of that. I look forward to seeing my sons coming home as they catch the bus coming. Like here, we're on acreage here, and I can hear the bus in the background when we're arriving.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, in 3 minutes, going to walk through the front door. I look forward to that immensely. I look forward to, like this morning, I'm always up at 4:30 doing stuff, going out running, whatever. So I don't really generally catch up with my wife until, about now. It's 10 o'clock our time as we're speaking. She'll walk through the door in the next sort of 20 minutes. Look forward to that. How was your morning? What were you doing? How were the boys this morning when you dropped them off? It's all of these little things that are are the big things, right? So that keeps my energy up. And if you think about it, and I'll speak about this in Courage to Be You, because hope is not just having a positive expectation of the future. Hope, to me, is having something to look forward to. And when you've got something to look forward to that lights you up, going back to your languaging, Renee, which I love, doing what lights you up. Sure, there's that on the macro level. What are you doing that lights you up? Sure, there's all these big things. But what about the micro light ups every day? That keeps my energy going all the time. Because I know that that's true because anything I question whether it's true or not, whether it's fabricated or not, is I reverse engineer it. And what I mean by that is I take that away and go, well, hold on. If you didn't have anything to look forward to, you didn't do the running, you didn't look forward to your wife coming home, if you take all that away, how would your energy be?
Yeah.
Well, my energy would be going the other way.
Yeah.
So that's how I know that's true for me. So I think it's really important to structure your life, create a life where you've got a meaningful hobby, a handful of people that you would die for,
Yep.
in your life. I know that's a big statement. Um, and combining all of that, you've got something to look forward to on a daily basis. How can your energy not stay up?
Yeah, I love it. And it's the little things. You're right. I think sometimes, if anything, if the last few years have taught us anything at all, the little things are the biggest ripples. And I totally agree with that. It could be a walk. It could be just then a honey eater flew past my window, probably because it's freezing in like 5 degrees, but still I saw it. So it's just giving yourself permission to pause, I think is what's really, important. I just love that. So just some quick trivia. What's your favorite word?
My favorite word.
Hmm.
Phenomenal.
The only word that I can't pronounce.
Really?
Never been up. No, I'm not going to try it either. Why that word?
I just think it's a beautiful word. It's an amplifying word. It's a glorious word. I think the word is phenomenal. It's like it's better than good. It's better than, and I don't like using epic or any of these words that get used all the bloody time. So phenomenal to me is like, wow, you're phenomenal, Renee. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's big.
It's big. It's
Yeah, it
big.
is an amplified word. I love
Yeah.
that. What noise do you love? What's one of your favorite noises?
We've got so I'm facing the front of our block here. The front acre here is koala habitat here in Noosa.
Wow.
This is like a massive aviary here. So just all the natural sounds of the incredible bird life that's here. Yeah, beautiful.
Beautiful. One last meal, and you know how much
Pizza,
pizza, I saw that. What sort of pizza? What's your favorite?
pepperoni.
Pepperoni. Yeah, same. Crispy. Has to be crispy.
Yeah,
What profession other than your own would you attempt?
singing.
Singing. You could still do that.
Well, no, I'm a realist, and I've taken lessons, and I'm very, very ordinary. It's just how it is.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here today. How do people find you and your book, Courage to Be You?
Thanks, Renee. Well, two ways. One is they can go to joepane.com.au, or they can find me on all socials. Pretty much all the handles are the same, at Joe Pane Insights.
Oh,
Uh,
beautiful.
yeah,
Yep.
so thank you. Yeah.
Amazing. And we'll have all Joe's contact details and links in the show notes as well. But grab a copy. I'm a massive reader. I read a book a week at night, always have, and absolutely love this book. It's been next to my bedside, and it's just full of, Joe, I think your life's work is
Yeah.
and the journeys you've been on to come to these insights. And I think it's a phenomenal book. So, Joe, thanks so much for
Thank
being
you.
on the podcast. Thank you to everyone out there that's been listening or watching. As always, feel free to share or comment. And if you have any topics or guests that you'd love me to delve into, let us know. As always, check out our website, reneegiarrusso.com, for upcoming public events and all our in-house leadership, communication and EQ programs. Stay safe and stay well, and thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Limitless Leaders podcast. So you don't miss an episode, make sure you follow the show in your favorite podcast app. Feel free to share this podcast with your family, friends, and work colleagues. If you're enjoying the show, find out more on what we do at RG Dynamics at www.reneegiarrusso.com. Until next time, be limitless.